Good Tuesday morning. It is All-Star break week in baseball. We had the home run derby last night. A lot of talk, obviously, about Juan Soto, as the guys were just joking around about. It was funny driving in, listening to Fliegelman. He said Juan Soto, like seriously, I know Al and Jerry were like joking around, but Fleeg said Juan Soto a good 150 times in 10 minutes when I got into the car. So much so that I almost texted Eddie, but I didn't want to give him all the work. I said, can you isolate every time Fleek said Juan Soto? We just open up the show with him going, Juan Soto, Juan Soto, Juan Soto, Juan Soto, Juan Soto. But that's what everybody was talking about out in L.A. And yes, rookies report for the Giants and Jets today, along with a number of other teams. That's where we are in the summer. Very exciting times. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I'm so excited for Juan Soto. It's you can't get enough of it. I mean, it was all over the place last night, and you could see all the players, including Starling Marte, working their angle. But, the thing about it is the players can work whatever angle they want. Juan Soto has no say into, where he's going and if he's going and whether or not the Washington Nationals are going to trade him. And, the interesting thing to me is, and remember we talked about this yesterday, that for some reason it's out there that his contract is not going to start with a 4, meaning $400 million. It's going to start with a 5, meaning $500 million.
That's right.
And, of course, all those players there last night know the significance of what that contract will look like and what it will mean for everybody else in Major League Baseball. And I think this is one of the reasons why, some of the owners in baseball were not all that thrilled
when Steve Cohen was
that
brought
it was
in.
going to be Steve Cohen that was going to buy the Mets, because they probably felt like the Wilpons always held back and didn't use their sizable market and fan base.
Other owners love that.
To overspend.
Yeah, right.
And I think even like in some respects, those owners probably respect and admire Hal Steinbrenner more, because he is so annoyed about not going over the luxury tax, where Steve Cohen doesn't seem to really give a rat's ass.
Not yet. And we will see, if it becomes prohibitive at some point. And we're going to find out real soon. I mean, if the Mets do end up pulling off a trade for Soto, and then Jacob deGrom opts out, and the Mets sign Soto and then give deGrom a whole bunch of money, then, Steve Cohen doesn't care about the luxury tax at all. But, it's real easy to say you don't care about it until you end up getting banged for, tens of millions of dollars and 40-something million dollars in luxury tax. It gets spread out to all the other teams to help them out.
Well, I would also say this, that as a Met fan, and watching Juan Soto a little bit last night during the home run hitting contest, which he won, I'm just envisioning him and Alonso back to back in the lineup.
Yeah, how could you not at this point?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine that? I mean, so that's the tantalizing thing about all of this, from where we sit as Met fans. I don't think the Yankees get involved unless it's the off season and they lose Aaron Judge. There's no way that they can get involved with their current pay structure and the way that it's laid out, and the fact that Hal Steinbrenner wants to stay below the luxury tax. There's no way that they can add him and Aaron Judge. You just can't.
Yeah, and that's basically what we've been talking about. You cannot give Aaron Judge $300 million or whatever he gets. Also have Giancarlo Stanton a part of your team and Garrett Cole a part of your team, and then bring in Juan Soto. From what we've seen from the Yankees recently, which is being very luxury tax conscious, I mean,
Now, if they lose Aaron Judge, so let's say the Giants.
Story. Yeah, different story.
Then it's a totally different story. And that's why I would think. So this is the interesting aspect about this. We got about 2.5 weeks before the trade deadline hits in August. And this is the unique kind of way you got to think about this. If you're the Mets, do you pounce now and try to get it done? Because if you wait until the offseason and the Yankees have a chance to find out whether or not they can sign Aaron Judge or lose him, Now all of a sudden you're in a bidding war with the Yankees.
Well, I think pouncing now, of course, is intriguing because look at where they are. I mean, they're in a fight with the Braves for the NL East. They have the second best record in franchise history at the All-Star break. You want to capitalize on a season like this, and you want to go win a World Series. So not so much for what it's going to mean in the offseason about other teams getting involved. I just want to see them get as good as they can be at the deadline this year. It would be just phenomenal. I mean, we're talking about them needing a bat. I mean, for crying out loud, getting one of the best players in baseball.
You'll be getting a bat for 10, 12 years.
Oh, my God. But most reports are saying that they don't think that a deal's going to get done before the trade deadline because it's going to be a massive deal. It's going to be very complicated for whatever reason. I don't know. And it's going to end up being an off-season thing. But, man, I tell you, this whole contract negotiation ending when it did, and then all this talk this close to the trade deadline means, at least to me, that the Washington Nationals are willing to deal him at the trade deadline.
The other thing that came out of this last night was Juan Soto was somewhat whiny about, the fact that, his name has now been bandied about in trade number and, his
He's
salaries.
like, you can't trust anybody anymore.
Yeah, I mean, what is wrong with this generation? I mean, you're going to make $500 million. I mean, I don't feel sorry for you. You were celebrated last night. Everybody loves you.
Mm-hmm.
They sent off Albert Pujols into retirement. Everybody, respected him and gave him a standing ovation and everything else.
Yeah.
And then you became the most celebrated baseball player in all the league, and every single star around you is talking about how great you are.
Oh, my
Yet
goodness.
we're supposed to feel bad because all of a sudden your name is being bandied about in trade talks because you've turned down 2 huge deals.
That's the point right there. The reason why they are going to trade you is because you don't want to be there. You didn't want to accept their deal. What are they supposed to do? Just lose you in free agency? And the reason that they would trade him with 2 years and right now, 2.5 years left under control is that's the most return that they can get is for a deal right now. And the closer that he gets to free agency, the less of a return. So he's the one that has made this whole thing happen with the Nationals wanting to trade him. So I don't know. The fact is, I don't know. They said they were going to trade me, and now they're going to trade me. I guess you really can't trust what they were going to say. That was ridiculous.
Can't trust they offered you $440 million.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's over 15 years and it's $29 a year, and I understand all that kind of stuff, but they've offered you, money that is just, it's stupid money. I mean,
it's all guaranteed,
stupid.
And
right.
I understand the average annual value is down from some of the best players in baseball. I mean, there's a good 8, 9, 10 guys that actually make more than that in baseball, and he's probably looking at that. But it's still $440 million guaranteed that you are going to have in your lifetime to set up the millions of Sotos that come after you.
So if they offered him a 10-year, $440 million deal, would he take it? Because that would make him the highest AAV player in Major League Baseball.
It's a really good question.
Or does he want 12 years and $500 million, or $525 million?
I think probably because he'll get another bite at it at 34 if he gets the 10-year deal for
I don't know what Boris is doing. I don't know what he wants. But, this whole thing about, I can't believe my name is bandied about. It's almost like, who has not done that and could easily do exactly what Juan Soto was doing yesterday about complaining about being in a trade discussion and turning down all this money is a guy like Donovan Mitchell, and he hasn't done that. He has not done that as far as I know of.
Yeah, but he got paid by the Jazz. The thing he would complain about is wanting out and forcing himself out in a very loud and spectacular way like some of these other NBA players have, and he has not done that. But he's got really no reason to be angry with the organization. They just, they didn't get it done, and they were up against the cap, and now they have to rebuild.
And but he doesn't want to be around for a rebuild.
He doesn't. But
not that going to the Knicks is any better, but he would be coming home and he'd be playing in the Garden, and I think that would be a dream come true.
It would be now. The current,
yes.
Now that Gobert's gone, and it's going to be a full rebuild, and it's a new coach there in Utah. I can actually confidently say that the Knicks are a better destination for him. But this isn't a situation where it's a contract dispute or the Jazz didn't want to pay him. They gave him that max deal, that rookie max deal. They paid him. They've treated him like gold out there. It's just Danny Ainge went out and said, we maxed ourselves out with this team, and it didn't work, and we're out in the first round of the playoffs.
Do you think Steve Cohen goes to his front office, Billy Epler, Sandy Alderson, and says, guys, whatever it takes, go get him right now?
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, that's what we all dreamt of when he became the owner, is a situation like this. Whatever you need, I've got it. Figure it out. Get that guy on this team. I will pay him. It doesn't make a difference to me. But apparently the Mets are reluctant to give up a ton of prospects. At least that's what John Heyman said. But, prospects are prospects. And we've seen with Jared Kelenic, who we were all not happy with, being in that deal for Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz, especially the way that Edwin Diaz started out his Mets career, and we thought that was going to go down as one of the worst trades in history, and Jared Kelenic can't even get on a big league team. He was up here for a little bit, and he's hit 100 and went back down, and he hasn't been able to come back up. So that's just one example of it. And I know there's examples of other guys who have panned out that have been prospects, but no, I mean, of course you would make the deal, and I would really hope that Steve Cohen would get excited about something like this. When you buy the team and you're a billionaire, whatever, 16 times over, whatever it is, this is the opportunity here that gives you an advantage over some of these other owners.
And that's what we've been talking about, the money advantage. And that's exactly what's happening right now. So the question will be for the next 2.5 weeks, can they put together a package that would make Washington happy, or is Washington going to wait until the offseason? And then if you wait until the offseason, you may have other suitors out there. And those other suitors may include the Yankees if they're unable to sign Aaron Judge. That's pretty amazing. And then, all those teams that may have designs of trying to sign Aaron Judge, as a free agent where it doesn't cost you really anything other than money.
Yeah.
Maybe some of those other teams now all of a sudden become players in the Juan Soto sweepstakes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but there's only, this is why baseball is baseball, and it's complained about, and small market this, and no salary floor. And yes, there's a luxury tax now, but there's only a handful of teams that are involved with players of this magnitude. That's it. There's 6 teams?
Right.
7 teams at the most that are involved. So the same teams.
But there's always a team like Minnesota came out of nowhere.
Yeah, but it was short term,
Sure.
Aaron Judge isn't looking for a short-term deal with an opt-out. The only reason that happened is because Carlos Correa couldn't get
the Yankees to step up, because the Yankees knew that they had a contract coming with Aaron Judge, and they had to go with the cheap solution at shortstop with IKF, who's turned out to be, offensively, I would say much better than anybody could have expected. Defensively, at times, shoddy and a little bit lack of concentration. I'll throw the ball into the ground.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I would think that, if you have the best record in baseball and your shortstop is playing pretty much every day, you got to be pretty happy overall with the production. You're not going to get perfection at every single position.
No, absolutely not. But the point is that the same teams that would be involved for Soto are the same teams that would be involved for Judge if he hits the open market. And both of them could end up here, very well could end up here. Judge staying with the Yankees and Juan Soto coming to the Mets. I think that those two things are real possibilities. I mean, he did talk about playing at Citi Field and how his numbers are great at Citi Field. He did say that yesterday. It's just strange to me, reading all these quotes this morning, that everybody was asked about this, and people, every player was speaking openly about Juan Soto being on their team. I didn't think you were allowed to do that.
Well, the players can do it. The managers can't do it. General managers certainly
I guess that's
can't
the
do it.
tampering stuff. I guess if the general manager does it.
Yeah, owners, general managers, anybody in the organization other than a player. Of course, the players are all going to be talking about it.
Yeah, but
they're all
publicly?
There. Yes.
It's I want him on our team?
Yeah, so basically players could do whatever they want.
I guess so. Yeah, and who wouldn't want him on their team? And Garrett Cole talked about it. Starling Marte talked about it. Everybody was talking about it.
And Garrett Cole. Hey, Garrett, you add Juan Soto, then you're losing, Aaron Judge. How's that going?
Yeah.
You can't keep them all, boys.
Well, or you could bring in Juan Soto for, let's say you trade for him at the trade deadline, keep him under control, don't give him the contract for 2.5 years, sign Judge for a long-term deal, try to win a championship or two in that time, and then in those 3 seasons, basically, and then let Soto walk. Or maybe enough money comes off the books, you're able to sign him to a long-term deal.
Yeah, I would think that anybody that is trading for Juan Soto is trading so much in terms of assets, so the Washington Nationals are happy to trade him because of what they're receiving in return, that team has to sign him to a contract extension. There is no other way to do that.
Yeah, you're right, and probably immediately. And that's the other part of this. Like, when he goes to whatever team, they're not going to be happy unless he gets paid immediately, because they could have sat there in Washington and played out the last 2 years.
Right.
You know, they're going to want that money right away. They're going to want them to buy out the last 2 years and pay him the $500 million. You know,
I don't think Max Scherzer's a real good comparison for him. You know, Max has been around a much longer time. He's got a much shorter deal, and you know, this is a player that maybe you say, okay, look, we'll give you 10 years, $400 million. That's AAV $40 million a year, and that makes you by far the highest paid position player for the length of term in the history of baseball.
Yeah. If that doesn't get it done, I don't know what does.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know you have to go 12 years, but, you know, who knows? I mean, who knows what they're trying to do here? And, of course, he wants to try to break the bank, and he has a responsibility to do so for the other players in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, and also, as we mentioned, he's so young, 10 years, $400 million, 34, he hits free agency again. God knows where the game's going to be in a decade. Everything in sports has grown and grown and grown, and there's no signs of slowing down. You know, so maybe he gets another bite at the apple at 34 years old where he's still playing his ass off and gets another $200 million.
So what we have Aaron Rodgers making, about $50 million a year now?
Yeah, it's something crazy, yeah.
Right? So, but he's got a 3-year deal, and it's about $50 million. So we now have a NBA player who just extended for 2 years, $120 million, $60 million a year.
Damian Lillard, yeah.
Right. Johnny Hockey signed for, 9.5 with Columbus? Oh, Jesus, man, are they underpaid. But then of course, they're going to try to set the bar at a new spot. And then, you know, who's the next guy that's going to come down the pike that's going to overturn that? You know, and the interesting thing will be if, in fact, let's say Soto does go to the Mets, and let's say it is by the trade deadline, which is probably unlikely, and he does sign a new contract, and he does that contract before free agency starts, then what is Aaron Judge looking for?
Yeah, sure.
There's so many like
but he's 31 as opposed to 24.
I know, but there's tentacles.
There's a lot of tentacles.
There's a lot of tentacles.
You're right.
And you got to remember, like when you look at the tentacles, and you start thinking of contingencies that are around those tentacles, there's a lot of stuff to take into account.
There's a lot to unpack.
Think about, it's a lot of unpacking. And, you know, you never know what the narratives are going to be. So the point being also, if you are a general manager, like you got to really, you got to really do your work. You better hope you got enough nerdy minions around you to help you understand all the little different nuances of these contracts and how they fit long term and what you see, you know, with the rest of your roster and who you got to pay and everything else. Because the Mets are going to end up, DeGrom's coming back and he's going to have a great second half and he's opting out. You just know it.
Yeah.
You just know it.
Well, it feels that way, but that's a good problem to have.